Welcome student. My name is Gaurav Sharma, from Assistant Professor from Department of Electrical Engineering. Today our topic is distribution system. In this lecture we are discussing about the distribution system of our network. As a consumer we use electricity for various purposes such as street lighting, flood lighting of sport arena, office building lighting, powering PCs, etc. Irrigation, agricultural land, pumps for operation of cold storage, various agriculture products. For these, we are using electricity as a consumer, including all like as running motors, furnace, wherein in industries, running locomotives for railways. For all these things, we are using electricity and we are using as an consumers. Now, when we look through the structure of our power system, you are easily seeing this picture. We have a generation, we are generating by the thermal power plant or by the nuclear power plant or by the gas power plant, whatever. We are generating our electricity at an 11 kV. After that, this generation, we are stepping up this generation, this power, stepping up to a 400 kV, and after the stepping up, we are transferring this power. This segment is called the transmission level or transmission of a electricity or transmission of a power. So this power is now after the 400 kV, we are supplying to different areas like here in a block diagram you can easily see the line to the other grid. This 400 kV is supplying to the other grid, or this 400 kV to for a very large consumer. We are supplying this 400 kV to the very large consumers. Now this 400 kV, now we are stepping down and stepping down to up to a 220 kV or 132 kV. Here it is written that 66 kV. Now we are stepping down, and after that stepping down this voltage, we are now send this step down transmission line voltage to the large consumers, and after that we are again stepping down this voltage to a 33 kV or and 11 kV. In a different voltage we are stepping down, and 33 kV we are sending directly to the mid-sized consumers, and the 11 kV we are again stepping down, and it is stepping down to the 440 volt, which we are given to the our distribution system, which we are using directly outside our home, which is as an approx 230 volt, which we are using in our homes. And if we have a single phase connection, then we are using 230 volts, and if we have a three phase connection, then we are using 415 volts. Now you can easily understand this structure by this diagram. Overall our power system we are categorized in a three categories, that is, one is generation, second is transmission, and third is distribution. In these three categories we are dividing our power system. In a generation part, here we are generating the electricity by mean of any other sources, like we are generating by the hydropower plant or a coal power plant or a nuclear power plant, whatever. After that, from the substations we are stepping our voltage up to a 400 kV and transmit it. And so while we are transmitting this voltage, this part is called the transmission. And after that, after the transmission part, we are again using a substation and stepping down our voltage, and then we are this part is called the distribution part. So in this distribution part we are using our large consumer, like industrial consumer, we are sending the 33 kV or 11 kV as per their requirement. And for the residential consumer, at what we are using our home, again it is again structure of power system. You can easily understand, generating at 11 kV, stepping up to 220 kV or 400 kV. Now this is called the primary transmission, where we transmit our voltage, secondary transmission, feeder, and after substation we are stepping down, and finally at the end we are using this which we are using at our home. Now The electrical energy produced at the generating station is conveyed to the consumer through a network of transmission and distribution system. It is often difficult to draw a line between the transmission and distribution system of a large power system. It is impossible to distinguish the two merely by their voltage level, because what was considered as a high voltage a few years ago is now considered as a low voltage. In general, distribution system is that part of power system which distributes power to the consumer for utilization. Now, we are distribution for the distribution system, we are categorized into three categories. These three categories are the feeders, distributors, and the service mains. Now, the feeders, a feeder is a conductor which connect the substation to the area where power is distributed. Generally, no tapping are taken from the feeder, so that current in it remains the same throughout. The main consideration in the design of a feeder is the current carrying capacity. A distributor is the conductor from which tappings are taken for supply to the consumer. The current through a distributor is not constant, because tappings are taken at various places along the length. And finally, the service mains is generally a small cable which connects the distributor to the consumer terminals. Now, when we classified our distribution system, we can classify it as per the nature of current. According to the nature of current, we have two type of current, that is our direct current DC. So we can say it is a DC distribution system, and the other is AC system, or what we call the AC distribution system. Nowadays, the AC is universally adopted due to its simplicity, because it is too simpler and it is too economical as compared to the direct current or a DC current method. Now, second classified type of construction. According to the type of construction, it is classified as the overhead system and the underground system. When our power system auxiliary or systems are goes from our overhead, what we are calling it is overhead system, and if it is go underground, that we call it underground system. And the third is scheme of connection. What the scheme of connection what we are doing, that is they are radial system, or they are ring main system, or they are interconnector system. What they are, as per the connection scheme, we are classified. Now, as per the choice of current, whether it is AC and whether it is DC, we have so much differences. When we see the differences, you can see on this on the screen, that is the AC transmission line transmit the alternating current. When we goes as per the definition, so the AC transmission line are the AC transmission line transmit the alternating current. So, and in respect of DC, the DC transmission line used for transmitting the direct current. So, when we goes for the number of conductor, in AC transmission line we have three conductors, that is phase, neutral, and earth. And in the DC transmission line we have only two conductors, that is plus, positive, and negative. As per the inductance and surges, in the AC transmission we have inductors and surges. In case of DC transmission line, we don't have inductance and surges. The voltage drop in the AC transmission line is high, but in case of DC transmission line, they are low. In the AC transmission line, we have the skin effect. The skin effect is when the majority of the current is flow on the surface of the conductor. So, in AC transmission line, the skin effect is occur, but in case of DC, it is absent. The need of insulation in the AC transmission line is more, and in case of DC transmission line it is very less. Interference in the AC transmission line is very high. It have but in case of DC it doesn't have. When we talk about the corona loss in the AC transmission line, it have, but DC transmission line it don't have. Dielectric loss in the AC transmission line it is have, but in the DC transmission line no dielectric loss will be there. For the case of synchronizing and stability problem, there is no difficulties in AC transmission line. But in case of DC transmission line, we have the difficulties. We are facing the difficulties for the synchronization and the stability problems. As per going for the cost, for the longer distance, when we are talking about the AC transmission line are expensive, but in compare with the AC transmission, DC transmission line are cheap. The length of conductor are small and the DC transmission line they are more. When we going for the repairing and maintenance, it is a very major point for the for our power system, that is easy and inexpensive in the AC transmission line. When we goes for the DC transmission line, it is difficult and expensive because so much converter are involved in there. And when we talk about the transformer is required in the AC transmission line, but in a DC transmission line we don't require any kind of transformer. Any transformer we don't require in DC transmission line. Now we have a two type of system, that is underground system and the overhead system. We need to compare head to head. Now when we talk about the public safety, in an underground system it is not visible, it is totally underground, so nobody can see and nobody can touch easily. So when we talk about the public safety, the underground system is safe and overhead system is less safe as compared to underground system. When we talk about flexibility, the overhead distribution system is more flexible than the underground system, because if we need to repair, we need to join, we need to connect to terminal here and there, so we can do easily in the overhead system, but it is quite difficult for the underground system. When we goes for the initial cost, it is obviously for the underground system it is too much high, because we have to dig out, create a cable trench, and we have to by the process we have to laying a cable in the trench and buried it, and we have to take additional safety measure for that. So as per that, the underground system is costlier than the overhead system. When we talk about the faults, the fault identification and repair is too much easy in the overhead distribution system, but in the case of underground system it's too much typical task because the fault repairing is easy and a less consuming time, but to identification of fault is a too much complex and too much lengthy process. And the appearance, definitely the underground system look too much good in appearance, and overhead system looks too much messy. The fault location repair, I already told, the fault location and repair is easy in overhead distribution system, and underground system is too much difficult. Yes, when we talk about the faults will occur in underground system less than the overhead system, because overhead system is exposed in the environment. Interference with the communication circuits, the overhead system will interfere, but underground system will do not interfere any type of. Now when we talk about the maintenance cost, it is a additional cost and a most important factor which we have to consider. The maintenance cost of underground system is too much high. When we talk about the useful life, yes, as the overhead system is exposed in our environment, they are in an open area, so the useful life is less as compared to the underground system. Current carrying capacity and voltage drop, the overhead system has the more current carrying capacity. Now when we go to the head to head, the fault location, as the overhead line is visible, it is easy to find the location of the fault in the overhead system. and as the underground cable is invisible, it is very difficult to find the location of the fault. For the initial cost, there is no requirement of digging manholes and trench, so overhead line system is cheaper than underground system. The initial cost of underground system is more compared to the overhead line because it need digging, trench, manhole, etc. The chances of fault, as the overhead line exposed to the environment, the chances of faults are more. The cables are not exposed in the underground system, so there is a less chances of fault. When we talk about the safety, this system is less safe as conductor placed on the towers. When we talk about the overhead system, for the underground system, it is safer as cables are placed underground, because it is underground, we are buried, we will not be able to see, it is not able to contact with anybody, so it is safer. In case of overhead lines, useful life is approximately 20 to 25 years. When we talk about the underground cables, the useful life is 40 to 50 years. So it is clear that the overall or useful life or lifetime is larger in underground cables. In overhead lines, the appearance of this system is not good because of all lines are visible. In underground system is good because of lines are invisible. There is no visibility of lines, so it is good. In the overhead system, no need to dig at the time of maintenance. Hence, for the some number of faults, the maintenance cost is less. But in case of underground system, the fault digging is compulsory. It is necessary to bear a labor cost. For the same number of fault, the maintenance cost is more. In case of overhead lines, it is more flexible because the expansion of the system is easily possible. But in case of underground cables, the expansion cost is nearly equal to the new erection of the system, because we have to dig out, we have to dig, we have to bear the labor cost, so it is almost equal to the labor cost. In the case of overhead line, the conductor placed in the atmosphere, so the heat dissipation is better, therefore the size of the conductor is small as compared to the underground system. In the case of underground system, due to the poor heat dissipation, the size of the cable is more. When we talk about the interference to the communication lines are run along in the transmission line in case of overhead line. So in this case, it is possible to cause electromagnetic interference with the communication line in case of overhead lines. In case of underground cables, there is no chances of interference with communication lines. In overhead lines, the distance between the conductor is very high, so proximity effect does not affect. In case of underground cable, the distance between cable is less, so proximity effect is very high. When we goes for as per the application, the cost of the system in the overhead lines are low. Therefore, overhead line used in the long transmission system and in rural area for the distribution system. In case of underground cables, because of the high cost, it is used for the short distance and in populated areas where space is major problem for the overhead transmission line. So when we talk about the populated area or a city market area, where is a too much gathering is there, too much rush is there, so we are using underground cable for the shorter distance. Otherwise, we are go for the overhead lines. Now, the connection schemes I already told you that we have a three type of connection scheme. From the first, it is a radial scheme. In a diagram, you easily see the radial scheme. In the system, a separate feeder radiated from a single substation and feed the distributor at one end only. Figure shows a single line diagram for a radial system for a DC distribution where a feeder open circuit supply feeder feeder OC supplies a distributor AB is here at point A. From this point A, obviously the distributor is feed at one end only, that is point A. In this case, from this point we can distribute only. Here it is a single line diagram of a radial distribution AC system. The radial system is employed only when power is generated at low voltage and the substation is located at the center of the load. So it is easily, you can see that from this system OC is there, and from this supply we are supplying to the load. This is the simplest distribution circuit and has the lowest initial cost. It is a very low initial cost, but it has a few drawbacks, like the end of the distributor nearest to the feeding point will be heavily loaded. The consumers are dependent on a single feeder and single distributor. Therefore, any fault on the feeder or distributor cut off the supply to the consumer who are on the side of the fault away from the substation, and the consumer at the distance and of the distributor would be subjected to a serious voltage fluctuation when the load on the distributor change. When the load is changing, then the last distributor will subjected to the voltage fluctuation. Due to these limitations, this system is used for short distance only. Now, next is the ring main distribution. You can easily see here it is a ring which we are making. In the system, the primaries of distribution system transformer from a loop. The loop circuit starts from the substation bus bar, makes a loop through the area to be served and return to the substation. Figure shows the single line diagram of a ring main system for AC distribution where substation supplies to the closed feeder. The closed feeder is there, L, N, M, O, P, S, L. So, we are supplying to the distributor. The ring main system has the following advantage. We have, like, there are less voltage fluctuation at consumer terminals. The system is very reliable at each distributor is fed via two feeder. Next is interconnected system. These are the interconnected system. When the feeder ring is energized by two or more than two generating station or substation, it is called interconnected system. Figure shows the single line diagram of a interconnected system where closed ring A, B, C, D is supplied by the two substation, either here S1 and S2 at a point D and C. So it has the following advantages, that it increases the service reliability, and any area fed from one generating station during peak hours load can be fed from the other generating station. Now, for the requirement of the distribution systems are, we need a proper voltage. It is the mandatory requirement that voltage should be available proper. The availability of power demand, when we require a power, then the power should be available. So it is a mandatory requirement for the distribution system. The reliability, power should be reliable, it should be available continuously. Interconnected system should be there. So if power is required at any time, we can get reliable automatic control system is there, and finally the providing additional reserve facilities. These are the requirement yeah, or we can say the essential requirement for of a distribution system. Now, for designing consideration of a distribution system, we need a feeder. A feeder is designed from the point of view of its current carrying capacity, while the voltage drop consideration is relatively unimportant. It is because voltage drop in a feeder can be compensated by means of voltage regulating equipment at the substation. A distributor is designed from the point of view of the voltage drop in it. It is because a distributor supplies power to the consumer, and there is a stationary limit of voltage variation at the consumer terminals. We can say 6% of rated value. The size and length of the distributor should be such that the voltage at the consumer terminal is within the permissible limit. The AC distribution calculation is different from the DC distribution calculation as per the following aspect. In case of DC system, the voltage drop is due to resistance alone. But in case of AC system, the voltage drop is due to combined effect of resistance, inductance and the capacitance. In case of DC system, additional and subtraction of current or voltage are done arithmetically, but in case of AC system, these operations are done vectorally. In an AC system, power factor has to be taken into account. Load tapped off from the distributor are generally at a different power factors. They are two way of referring power factor. These are, it may be referred to supply or receiving end voltage, which is regarded as the reference vector. It may be referred to the voltage at the load point itself. The methods of solving AC distribution problem, we have two methods. These are power factor referred to receiving end voltage and power factor referred to respective load voltage. Now, look to the power factor referred to the receiving end voltage. We have consider a distribution line which these are AB with a concentrated load I1 and I2 tapped off at a point C and B. We are taking the receiving end voltage VB as the reference vector. Let lagging power factor at C and B are the cos phi 1 and cos phi 2. We have a power factor here cos phi 1 and here cos phi 2 with respect to VB. Let R1 X1 and R2 X2 are the resistance and inductance, resistance and reactance of section. From this section we have a resistance R1 and the reactance is X1, and from this section we have a resistance R2 and the reactance X2. So impedance of the section AC or ZAC is R1jX1, and for the impedance for the CV are the R2jX2. Load current at point C is I1 cos phi 1 minus J sin phi 1, and load current at point B is I2 is equal to I2 cos phi 2 minus J sin phi 2. So we are calculating I1 I2. The current in section CB, is I2 minus J sin phi 2, and the current in section AC is I1 plus I2. हो गया? is I1 plus I2. Here the voltage drop in section CB, VC is equal to ICB ZCB, and here now we can calculate the voltage drop in section AC. So now sending end voltage and sending end current we are calculating by these vector equation. Now the vector diagram of the AC distributor is undertaken as shown in this figure. It is a vector diagram, and here we taken VB as a reference, as the power factor of the load are given with respect to VB, and I1 and I2 are lagging behind this phi 1 and phi 2. That's all for today. Now next topic we are discussing in next class.